Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Gentlemen, let's talk about the truest thing that you know.
You're watching Hammerhand, the MGTOW monk.
You know, I don't speak about things like this often, and I think that I should probably talk about it a little bit more. But the truest things that I know are the things that I've experienced. Now, that could be anything, right? Like, it could be this. It could be driving over this bridge here that's going to make noise. There we go. Now it's not making noise. It could be looking at the greenery out here. It could be looking at the skyline. It could be looking at the water vapor coming out of the gas plant. Those are true things. They're true statements. But the truest things that I knew and know in life are the absolutes that have been inflicted on me or that I have committed on others. I'm no angel. I mentioned some time ago in a few videos that my life was not easy. My life was very difficult. And to an extent, today, it's still not fantastic. But it's a lot better than it was. And I can recognize that. So is that the truest thing that I know? No. The truest things that I know in life are watching people en masse shut down. That when their programming reaches the end of its line and you're still feeding them questions or scenarios and they just give you that blank stare, that blank look, it's like does not compute. It's the blue screen of death just with a human. It's very strange. And then what do? They go into a full-blown panic most of the time. They either cease the conversation or they scream or they lash out at you because they don't have an appropriate programmed response, because they're not living, they're acting. And they're not acting very well at all. The truest things that I knew when I was young was that I was being destroyed. I didn't know why. I didn't understand it. What I did, unfortunately, what I did get out of it was a lifetime of mental and emotional, spiritual, and sexual problems. That's some hard shit to talk about for a lot of people. But one of the things that folks simply don't want to acknowledge or recognize is that little boys are raped and beaten on par or in greater numbers than little girls. And I would say that it's probably more. If you think about the way that society treats boys, they want to whip them into shape as fast as possible so that they can get all those productive years from them. They don't care what's going on in your head. They don't give a shit about that. They just care about that 16 to 60. That's all they care about. Oh, goodness gracious. If I had been exposed to some of these facts as a young person, the red pill facts, the ones that I'm talking about, if I had been exposed to that as a young person, I would not have been equipped to deal with it in any way, shape, or form. I just wouldn't have been. And there's a lot of folks out there that can't deal with the reality of life today. The reality of life today is that it's a great big piece of stale, moldy fucking bread, and somebody just spread some mayo over it. And they're just going to tell you, here, it tastes good. It's all in your head. And they're not kidding. They really believe that. They really believe that life tastes good, that it's all in your head. I have to disagree with that. Nobody else lives your life except you, right? Nobody. These truths that all of these men know, that are on here speaking about, that are on here screaming at the top of their lungs about, metaphorically speaking, and some not. I've seen that as well. It's, boy, is it tough. It is tough to sit here and watch people just disintegrate. It's tough to watch all of these monkeys running around with fucking face masks. I understand if you have a physical risk. I get that. I get that. I understand that. But that's not what's being done to you. Your freedoms, your autonomy is being removed. Plain and simple. It's very clear. It's very clear. And if you have the ability to see past a mask mandate or a vaccine mandate, then you know what time it is. You know what's up. We all know what's up. It's just, I think even some of the people that are fervently talking about put your mask on, oh, just go take the vaccine, I think even they know what's up. They're just scared. These are powerful truths that really harm people's minds, that harm their intellect. And I have to tell you, I've had my fair share of that. And I'm done with that shit. I'm done with that. Now, I'm not saying that all of the scars from being abused mentally, spiritually, sexually, I'm not saying that those scars are gone or that I've washed them away. They're not. You have to find a way to live life every day. And if you can't live life every day, then you're living some bastardized version of life. You're just coasting, you know? And of course, that's not good for anyone. That's not good for you. That's not good for the people around you. There's a lot of us that have at least internet friends that I think care, you know, if that's all that you've got. I mean, that's kind of the way that humanity has evolved and devolved at the same time. I can't tell you with any certainty when the last meaningful face-to-face conversation with a person was that I had. And I don't mean talk like, hey, boy, what's going on? How you doing? Oh, yeah, we're doing that? Okay, cool. See you next week. That, to me, is not meaningful. That's not meaningful. That's just, you know, chatter. That's just bullshit. Yeah, man, it's strange. Those powerful truths are always there in your head. Always. And it's difficult to separate very harmful and hurtful actions and reactions from your life. When that stuff was brought to you and you were being crushed by it, you didn't understand that. If you were being smoked as a kid, if you were being crushed as an adult, if your children were being stolen from you, if the only thing that you ever loved in life packed your shit and walked out the door, none of those things are easy, but they are identifiable truths, and you have to be able to get the best message from that you possibly can. I hope all of you gentlemen are doing well out there today. And like I say, well, I haven't said this for some time, I absolutely encourage celibacy. When you are feeding a monster between your ears, when you're feeding serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins, sex is no different than heroin. It's really not. The need to be loved and accepted by somebody because you never had that thing growing up becomes very large in your head when it's actually not a very large problem at all. You've just never had the ability or the time to deal with it. So I absolutely encourage celibacy. Stay away from that kind of stimulus until you have figured yourself out. You know, you hear people, I heard people all my life, I'm going to find myself, man. I always thought that was kind of stupid. But then I realized, as I got older, that they were telling you the truth. Listen to them. These women, these men out here, they're telling you the truth. They're telling you exactly who and what they are. You just don't want to believe it. Because that's not what you want. They're telling you straight up, I'm a piece of shit. I'm an abuser. I'm a narcissist. I'm a cunt. They're telling you, and you don't want to hear it. So yes, I encourage celibacy. Now that being said, I understand biological drives in nature. I encourage you to get your biological drives under control. The faster you do that, the faster you're going to be able to cope with life. And you can wean yourself off of those brain drugs, those very natural brain drugs, the dopamine, the serotonin, the endorphins. You can get off of that shit, and you can stop searching for that constant emotional satisfaction and high. We have this thing where we call women emotional thinkers, emotional actors. They're reactive. They're not proactive. They're reactive, blah, blah, blah. We say that, and it's true. But then you've got to look at yourself, too. There's a lot of men out here preaching the discipline, preaching the philosophy that are the exact same way. They're emotional, and they're hooked on them brain drugs. You got to get away from that. You got to stop doing that. And you have to try. If you honor yourself, you have to try. It's incumbent upon you to take care of yourself. And the way that you do that is to realize and to recognize that you have shortcomings. We all do. But you got to give it a fair shot and make absolutely sure that at the end of the day, the interests that you're looking out for are yours. If you choose to concern yourself with someone else, like children, which I completely understand, your best interests are their best interests. Plain and simple. There's no way around that. If you're doing good and you're squared away mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, sexually, your children will be the same. If you're chaotic, if you're a bundle of fucking nerves, your children will be the same way. Especially when they're split from the masculine influence in their life, their father. It just goes to fucking hell, and it goes to hell fast. Hope all's good with you gentlemen out there today. And remember, when you wake up, every day above dirt is a beautiful day. Even if it fucking sucks balls. I'll catch you on the next one.